Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this episode of the 50/50 Take It or Leave It podcast. And in this episode, I get interviewed. Isn't that right?
Heck yeah, you do, by yours truly, myself. Unfortunately, this is a special, well, not unfortunately, fortunately for you guys, it's a special. I want to delve into Matt's creation, talk to him about what the inspirations were, what his decision-making was on when we presented our characters to him, and
how do you tie that into everything?
Exactly, and how he balances sessions and everything.
Making sure that people are heard all the time. And why do I have this third, non-existent thing in the D&D universe in mind? And how do you come up with all the different storylines, and how do you tie them together and keep that open so that way players can do what they want to? We answer all of that and a little bit more in this episode of the 50/50 Take It or Leave It podcast. So, Mitch, I didn't really bring a tie to this interview. I don't really know if that's necessary or not.
Oh, I've done plenty of interviews with people not wearing ties. Actually, they weren't wearing a whole lot. So.
And this is for a job, right?
Yeah, actually, this determines the rest of your life. So.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you.
Maybe you should have worn a tie. Maybe I'll let you go back home.
Leave?
Yeah, go back home and get a tie.
Let me just.
No, don't leave. We're on a time budget here.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Time is money. I threw the headphones on the desk. I'm ready.
That's amazing.
What is this interview actually about?
So what we're going to talk about today, 2 weeks ago we did a special where Kyle and I talked about our characters. And we did that because, we didn't want to tell the story of the session without the DM. And tonight Kyle's unable to make it because he's a dedicated esports athlete practicing right now. So
heck yeah. He's clicking on heads, hopefully.
Yes, Valorant. I don't know how Valorant works, but sometimes...
It's not like CSGO.
Yeah, I don't quite know
what that is. Okay.
Well, no, I do know what CSGO is because I have to cover it now, but they actually... No, they didn't win the other day. That was Valorant. Valorant won, not CSGO. Valorant won 3-1. But that's a little off subject.
Yep.
Apologies. No, but what we're going to talk about tonight, Matt, is basically you're the guy that's created this whole world, this whole multiverse, this whole storyline, all these arcs, all these possibilities that we explore into, and we don't really get to talk to you a whole lot about it. Granted, that's for security reasons a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And we won't delve into what's to come, but let's look in the past.
Okay.
And how the campaign's gone so far for you, basically.
Sure. Yeah.
From your standpoint, obviously you sit behind your two powerful screens with lots of info, with all your magical dice and whatnot. And
I do have two screens for everybody out there. I know that's frowned upon sometimes, but one screen doesn't really give me enough room. I got a lot of stuff back there.
We run on two tables, so I figure one screen per table makes sense.
It's certainly helpful.
Yeah.
Because then it's also not uneven. In that middle split that we got. We got a pretty janky setup, but we do it what works.
Yeah, exactly. But basically, when you created this and knowing the characters that were coming into your world, because obviously that plays a
huge role.
Yeah, you create this world, but then we present you our characters, and that's why you kind of have to modify it.
Yep.
Our characters to the world, and the world to the characters a little bit.
It's like getting the idea that you want for a blanket, and you still don't know what the the sheets are yet that you've got.
Yep.
So now you've got to sew them all together, basically.
Yep.
You've got the plan, and you got to go off that, but you got to make sure that it also fits with what people have given you. Because if you don't do that, then what's the point in even playing?
Right. It's frustrating for both ends because it's like...
Right. You want to be invested.
Yeah. I want to have a character that has tie-ins with the world. I don't want this just random character that fits nowhere in the world.
Right.
And as a DM, that's part of your job, and that's why your job's so important, and honestly, you do really well at it. I feel like I'm, as a new D&D player, I'm very blessed with a DM that works with me and manages a lot of people, because I feel like, what is it, 7? No, 6. You have 6 players.
6, possibly 7 in the future.
Yep, that's a little sneak peek. There might be someone else joining.
Yes.
Which is
I
awesome.
also asked one of my friends if he wants to, I said co-star, sometime, because he's always wanted to play D&D, but he was like you. He's never had somebody that been like, hey, do you want to sit down and play Dungeons and Dragons before? And so he said he might take me up on that. So
that's awesome.
yeah, there might be like a mini arc where he like joins you guys for a little bit, helps
That's
out.
awesome. I love when Critical Role does that.
Yeah,
it's
fun.
really cool. Yeah, helps spice it up. Make it not that normal times get monotonous, but it's like you know what to expect from each character.
Yeah.
So it helps bring that new energy, that new dynamic in there. I actually really liked it when they did it with Tyrion. That was nice.
Yes.
But
and the other thing is, it helps other people get into D&D. Because like sometimes I've gone to like D&D clubs before, but I just haven't jived with the people there sometimes, and that's just how it is. Like you don't always get along with the people that you try to run D&D with, and groups dissolve and all that. And I want to give people who have never had an opportunity to do this before, do it. That's why I did it with you guys. You guys were all new. You all wanted to try D&D. Some of you guys had played a couple of times before. I ran for you guys the first time, right?
That one
you,
shot.
You, Kyle, and I. Not Daniel. Daniel had already played, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was the boys' trip. But anyway, you were getting to a question, I think. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. That was good. It's a fair thing to bring up because like, not to go off topic here, but like when I told my dad I was like getting into D because I didn't tell him when I first joined just because I didn't know how I was gonna react. Some people have a mindset towards D&D, and I don't blame them. There's a lot of
I had it. Keeping it 100. I had it. I was like nerd game.
Yeah.
Dumb nerd game.
I've always wanted to play it, so I never took that mental approach on it. But I knew my dad kind of was like, that's for. And even when I talked to him, he's like, I understand why you like it. It's just for the people that I saw play it back when I was younger, they had a lot of social
ineptitudes.
Yes, yeah. Which I'm like, okay, that's fair. You get a group of people that pretend to be someone else, and that play that person for 4 to 8 hours every 1 to 2 weeks. I could see how like that would bring up that consistency, but I feel like our group isn't like that, and that's why we all do a really good job, and we can bring in other people. There's certain D&D groups I would imagine that are very hard to join, and if you don't play by their rules and do things their way, and it has to be their way, and there's no give and take, then which are bad D&D groups.
Well, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes you just don't jive with a group, and that's okay.
Yeah,
because people want to play different games. Our game, I hope everybody's okay with it. I try to ask every once in a while. Our game's a little bit darker.
Yeah,
and that's the way I like it. I asked beforehand. I'm like, is there any like things I can't do? Like, I'm gonna go dark places if that's all right with you guys. Explore some really dark themes and topics. Like, is that cool with everybody? And everybody, for the most part, gave me the okay. A couple of things that they told me not to touch on, and I'm like, okay, I get that.
Which is fair.
Yeah, and we're in the Lovecraftian inspired arc right now, so it's gonna get darker.
I love it. Gosh, that's such a.
How did you like it?
Not to get into this session too much without Kyle, but it was.
How did you like the time skip?
When you told me, or when you were describing this, looking in the journal, and it was the exact same like moment. Literal chills.
Yes!
Literal chills. I was like, no fucking way. That's amazing. And Brandon brought up the point in session. He's like, what if we had looked through the captain's quarters? I was like, I thought about it.
But you didn't.
But we didn't. Do you know how weird it would have been if we had found that? And just, the possibilities. Possibilities are endless. And that's what I kind of love about D&D. There are multiple, even like, when we did our session.
When you, like, looked at the captain, and then he, like, looked at you kind of, like, eyes, like, not really there, and then your powers got snuffed out, that was,
That was so good. I'm glad I activated my powers finally. That was awesome.
Yes.
And I didn't, when I said I use my aspect, I was like, true, I have to trigger them. But also, it's a DC 10.
Not hard. Yeah.
No,
you got a 50-50.
Yeah. 50-50, take it away.
Hey.
But, no, when, that was really fun being able to activate the powers and do that stuff. And it's just, it was so well done. There's moments, there was a good moment, like when we were in session, I thought about being like, I'm going to stay up for watch. And I wish I would have. Just to see how you handled it. Because, like, as a DM, you probably were expecting us all to just go to sleep. And from a DM standpoint, you probably would have been like, and you stay up for another 2-3 hours, and you start noticing something, but eventually you drift off. And I'm not sure exactly how you maybe not to that exact way, but along that line. And we almost made it too easy for you.
Daniel was almost gonna stay up. He's like, I'm gonna stay up, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna take a point of exhaustion, like for staying up.
Right.
And then he's like, well, I can't do that. I'm like, no, you can't do that, can you?
That would have been great. Because I'm like, what if we would have stayed up? What if one of us just? Because granted, 4 days.
Well, and like how would Leatva like gone through the night then? Because that's something to consider. Like. Well, and we're not going to go too much deeper into it, just because the audience right now doesn't really know what we're talking about. You will in the next episode.
Yep.
So stay tuned. Catch the next one. But I had plans in place for that specifically because she was getting hit the hardest. Real bad things are afoot with her.
Good. I like how we moved character arcs. Not saying that I didn't mind being like, because the first.
Did you like yours?
Yes, I loved mine. I absolutely loved it.
It's not done yet.
No, it's not. It's not. I just don't always like being the center of attention.
Yeah.
Which I like being in it for a little while, but
it's time to move on.
Yeah.
It's time for a little bit of flow.
I felt like everything was centered around, Zion's brother died. Zion is pulling us this way. Zion is getting these new powers. Zion and this, Zion and that, and blah blah. Well, Zion, why are you going crazy? Why are you going down this tunnel? Why is the centipede talking to you? Where did you get the centipede? Why is it talking to me now? And I was like, that I get how story arcs have to work, and that's kind of how it is. I was getting in my own head thinking, I'm like, oh gosh, everything's centered around me, and I just don't want this whole campaign to be like that, and blah blah blah. But now it's good to like.
It's not.
I know it's not now, especially now because I'm like, yes, other people are suffering, not just me.
You didn't feel you were suffering though, right?
No, but I definitely was going. Character-wise, Zion was going insane with the centipede.
Yeah,
that drove him nuts. I was like, I mean, you saw some of the way I would say I play Zion really well.
I would agree.
I especially when I freaking. 1 point of damage to a level 12. I don't need the rogue, the
monk.
That's right, because he key pointed my ass and just clipped me. Boom, boom, boom. You're dead. But
unconscious, not dead. But
yeah, that part I thought I did. I mean, you told me you really liked what I did with that.
And you were one of the players that was really vocal about liking the funeral arc. That little one session mini journey that was.
I love that. It's just so because like Zion likes Cerulean, and I can see why now. They have on this. We've talked about this like scale of what the deep teachings are.
Right.
And Zion and Cerulean are right next to each other, and you kind of see it in session 2 where Zion and Brazil or Sylvana or Timeless.
Sylvana.
They don't talk a whole lot, but when they do talk, it's actually very good conversation. And like it's not like we're Oberyn where they're constantly butting heads, or Edwin. It's like we're half elves and we're from the same place. It's Brazil and Zion have no similarities besides the fact that they're Beastmaster Rangers.
Right.
And that's about it. They're about as far away from each other as you can get.
I would agree.
But they still like
understand
they have a lot
each other on like an unspoken level.
Exactly. A lot of the mental decisions and a lot of the thinking processes I think are the same.
And that's one of the most beautiful parts. You guys, I can tell you, are very different characters. Extremely different. But you function the same. You make a lot of the same decisions.
Our paths getting to that decision are, I think, different.
Yeah.
Our mental journey there is going to be way different from mine. Is going to be way different than Brazil's, but it's still going to lead the same.
Still get to the pretty close to the same place.
And that's why I think Cerulean and Brazil are right next to each other, or I'm in between the both of them because I think
I would agree with that.
The ideals are the same, which. I don't know why that worked out so well, but it freaking did.
Most of the ideals of the deep are all the same. But you're talking about specifically the characters, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how
I'm excited for you to see Cerylion's full extent of her stuff. She's got a lot going on in the background. Got a lot of stuff. Got her fingers in a lot of pies, as they would say.
Mm-hmm. Which I love that.
I had so much fun creating her. A lot of fun. I also like to give a lot of the power to chicks. I don't know if you've noticed that a little bit, but I do. One of the, I think I talked about it a little bit. Bahamut. Mm-hmm. He's currently in a male form but he's taken different forms throughout.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he takes the strongest warrior that comes to his group when it's time to switch out hosts basically, because that's what happens. Somebody agrees to allow him to use their body throughout their lifetime, and they get a free go to heaven.
Oh, wow.
Basically, that's the trade-off. He allows their soul up into the 7 gates of heaven and all that stuff, and he Jaegers their body around so that way he can stay on the prime material.
Well, I'm at the point in Critical Role where they talk about Avatar, because oh crap, what's his name? The unspoken king ascends into godship.
Yep.
So
Vecna.
Yeah, Vecna. So they're talking about how even though he's ascended, he still doesn't understand his powers, and in the Avatar state, it's still not
he's not there yet.
He's not there. He doesn't understand his full capacity. You can still, it'll be more difficult now, but you can still take him down. So I'm guessing an Avatar, someone lets him use his body, and I'm not saying I do this a lot. Just because Critical Role is the only other...
No, yeah, it's a good reference.
D&D thing that I have to reference off of.
It's a very fair reference, too. Matt Mercer does a better job than I'll ever do. I'm going to work towards beating him, but I don't know if I will. He's got, 20-some years on me. This is only my 2nd year, and it's really still kind of my first.
Yeah.
Because this hasn't been continuous, but...
Yeah. I don't know. I feel very lucky to have you as a DM, because I feel like you...
I try to be fair.
You do. You really do. I mean, you let a second level ranger have a winter direwolf as a beast. I don't know how many DMs would let that happen. And we've talked about ways to kind of nerf it a bit, because I think it was the first session we were I think we were both oh my god, this thing is amazing.
That's powerful. Yeah.
So there were certain things where okay, well, we can't do this, and just kind of nerf it a bit, take it a step back. And you even told me your beast isn't going to level up with you for a while.
Yeah, for a little bit. It's got more hit points still than I think the strongest member of your party.
Yep. Which is whoo, yikers. But that's okay. The role play that I do with Una, I think...
She's a little hungry now, though.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she is. I fed her elk. I don't know if you caught that in session, but I did feed her elk.
I don't think I did. I'll have to remember that.
Yeah, I did, because you told me that you were you described both to me or Silvana that our animals looked rough.
Yeah.
And I was oh, I feed Una the last piece of elk, because I leaned over to Kyle and I was all the elk from our session 0 is gone for me now. I know. That is worth it.
That's about, what, a year and a half later, though, now?
In the world?
No.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, in real life, yeah. Year and a half.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude,
I hate that we take breaks over summer. How many sessions is that? That's 12 sessions that we miss out on.
Yeah. That's I feel like the whole arc.
That's probably an entire arc. 12 sessions? Yeah. Definitely an entire arc.
If not a solid...
Deals in the Dark was fall semester, basically.
That's true. Oh, man, we could be on a whole new arc. It just, I love doing it in person.
Yeah.
I get that doing it over Discord is a good way to do it. I don't know. I play a lot off of facial expressions and body language. I'm really good at reading body language. And
it's an entirely different game at the table. It really is.
Yeah.
That's the part that sucks. I wish we all lived close to each other. But when summertime comes, we just...
Yeah. I go back to Iowa. Kyle and Brandon.
I go to Wisconsin.
Yeah, you go to... Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough journey.
Yep. But you have questions for me, right? I'm sorry, I keep derailing.
No, you're good. Oh, this is kind of what I do with interviews. I mean, I kind of throw something out there and we play off each other with it, basically.
All
This is just so that you can talk about, like what you think is going well and I'll pose you this question.
Okay.
What's the most surprising thing that's happened so far in the campaign that you weren't expecting? And I think I know the answer to this, but I want to see what it is.
Well, I think you do too. When I designed Deals in the Dark, which is the first arc of the campaign, it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be a little bit later. I was like kind of hinting at it with a couple of things, but I figured they were going to go an entirely different route because I had a different like plot point that I wanted to get hit first, and that would lead to some other ones, and then it would slowly lead its way back to Deals in the Dark. But you guys went there first. And I was like, okay, all right.
At what moment did it switch from the first arc you had to Deals in the Dark?
When you decided to ignore the Leviathan.
Okay.
Because I figured the Leviathan would be a bit persuasive enough to get enough party members to be like, hey, he's talking about some really weird, dark stuff. Let's leave that. And then you would just have to like swallow it for a little bit and then go, right?
Zion doesn't swallow shit.
No, he doesn't. And I didn't know that at the time. Like I was still feeling out the characters as much as you guys were.
Yep.
And so you guys went down, and I was like, okay, they're going through with it. All right, let's make some Deals in the Dark. And then we had the Night Terrors, and then you guys get to the one that is many, and the one that's many lays it out on the table for each of you. Like this is a power that you can take, like if you want to take it. And almost everyone did. I didn't expect that. What I should have done, and I think I was talking about this out of a podcast, but I should have done it individually with you guys.
Yeah.
So that way people, because I think they, like you said, they heard the 2 level ups and they're like, oh, well, I guess I have to do this. And that's not what I wanted.
No.
Because there's a price to be paid for taking this power, and that's about to be exacted soon.
I'm so glad not to get into it too much, but I was able to like activate the aspect and finally like, use some freaking will on someone.
Yeah.
I wish I had rolled better, but again, I don't know how well it would have.
It's not so much like exacting will, but like breaking their own or like bending it to serve you. Like conquest, yeah. So good. Conquest. Such a fun aspect.
I know. I love it.
So awesome.
It fits Zion really well too. And not to get into the character too much, but sometimes I feel like the party, I would argue that I'm the party's hothead. Within the dynamic. Maybe. I feel like Edwin has to calm me down not calm me down, but like be the Bard he's wanting to be, because I feel like he's very much into like crowd control and making sure that not everyone gets too excited too quickly. And I don't know if that's what he's trying to do, but that's how it's coming off to me.
Okay.
As a character and player, it's like he's really into like making sure everything stayed calm and like for example, when we were at the mansion and we were facing the lions, he laid down his rapier.
Yep.
Which ultimately kind of sucked for him because he never got it back. We ended up getting him another rapier, which was no problem, but he's very much about like, Edwin is very much about like, all right, let's just talk this through. Let's not get too excited. Let's not get weapons or spells involved here. Let's just talk it through. Where if Zion is like confused in the slightest, like if he doesn't have a control on the situation, understands really what's happening, if he feels somewhat lost, he's going to get something out of someone to get either back into understanding the situation or the situation's going to end. Most likely in someone's death. But
yeah,
he just likes having that, not control, but understanding. It doesn't even have to be control. He doesn't have to be the one leading the charge on the conversation. Zion doesn't.
But he has to be the one on the top of the conversation.
Yes, kind of.
Even if people don't know it.
Exactly. Zion doesn't talk a whole lot.
No. There's something that people say that I think kind of exemplifies or is exemplified in Zion. It's where sometimes the toughest guy in the room is the guy who doesn't talk. Like the guy who can kick your butt doesn't say a word.
Yep.
And that's the vibe I get off Zion.
And that's the vibe I'm trying to shoot for. That's the mentality I kind of wanted to take with that character. Just because sometimes I don't.
How did you like what Cerulean said to you then? Did that kind of like hit Zion a little bit? Did you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, when she's like, you were going to be just like him.
Yeah.
It was a double-edged sword because obviously Zion hates his dad.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I mean, I think Zion was coming to terms with becoming the heir to the throne.
Yeah.
And I mean, you saw that
yeah.
whole thing where it's like, when he talked to the Dominus, it was like, yes, sir. He was
kind of fell back in.
Yeah, he was falling back into it. And not because he wanted to, it was more of like basically he was taking responsibility.
Yeah.
For what needed to be taken responsibility for. Like with Xeon dying, like he's like, okay, this has to go either one of two ways. I die because they hunt me down, or I just accept being the heir to the throne and I learn how to be a leader like the Dominus or something similar to it. And after he passes, then I make the changes that I want to.
Yeah.
A different road to what he wants, but a road nonetheless. So you're just kind of like coming to terms with that. And then
boom.
Then literal boom happened. So it was a double-edged sword. He's like, because he doesn't want to be exactly like Dominus. He doesn't want to be, like Cerulean said, you were going to be exactly like him. It was, which Zion's grateful for, but also he wants to rule. He wants to be a king. That part is sticking with him. It's the method in that.
Yeah, he doesn't really want it to be handed to him.
No, and he wants to earn it.
He wants to take it, yeah.
And that's, I think, something that Dominus didn't see. And I think that's what hurt the most.
Yeah.
Is like, he wants to earn it, but he wasn't achieving that.
He didn't even get the chance to. He got pushed away before he could even try.
Yeah. That's where the hatred starts, is that you didn't even give me the chance. I wanted it, and you didn't even give me the chance.
So now, I'm going to go out, I'm going to get whatever I need to, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to take it.
Exactly. And that's
what's beautiful about the character, and that's what gives you so much to, like, go for. Because sometimes I sit down with players, and I'm like, okay, what are you, like, moving towards? Like, what's your goal? Like what are you, like, striving to achieve? Mm-hmm. Because then that's how I know how to, like, sew it in better,
Yep.
To fully understand where they're going. You already have to know where they've been, which I do know, but I have to figure out where they're wanting to be.
Yeah. This kind of gets into like communication theory, which I really love because I had to study that, and it's talking about group dynamics and something within group dynamics which is bad, and I say that lightly because this is something you need in D&D. Having a secret agenda or having a personal agenda.
Ah, yes.
And it's hard as a D&D player to make sure you're balancing your character's personal agenda and the group's agenda, because both are very important.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to be, because eventually, if you prioritize your personal agenda too much, then the group players, not characters, but players are like, what are you doing? Like, you're trying to be the star of the show the entire time, and I'm feeling kind of backseated right now. Yeah. I have stuff that I want too, but I always have to take a backseat to what you want, and that's why I think I struggled with the most. I was like, I don't want to be the spotlight whore, the spotlight hog, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and I understand.
But you know what I mean. So it was making sure that you
spread the love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think taking a group goal or taking the group's ideals and what the group wants as a whole is going to backseat your story, your personal story. And I saw that a lot happen to short gnome on Critical Role. Scanlan. Yeah, that happened with Scanlan, and that's why he left.
Yeah.
He put the group stuff first, which is good, but at the same time you have to balance that.
Yeah.
As much as I trash on Marisha, she did a good job of balancing that. She was all for group stuff, but she'd be like, "Hey, we're actually near this tribe, which I need to go to." So she did. I actually applaud her on that. She does a good job of balancing that with the character Keyleth. But there are other things I don't like what she does about the character, but we don't need to get into that.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. It's really fun to see the potential, because obviously, I think you give a lot of hints to a lot of characters' backstories, and only they know that that's a hint. But like when you gave Oberyn the dream with, or not even the dream, the interaction with Cerulean, you're like, Cerulean's saying to him like, "Hey, you need to speed this along. You need to get him. You need to make sure Zion gets to this spot by this point. Otherwise, bad things are going to happen." And Oberyn's like, "What?" And she's like, "Get him here. You're falling behind." It was just, and I have a good enough imagination to imagine what's there. And
I've laid hints in the past.
Oh yeah, you've laid hints too, and
some things that I think some people don't understand is they like to like switch things up all the time. Like, ooh, you thought you knew it was gonna happen, but oh, now this is happening. Oh, now this is happening. Sometimes when you lay breadcrumbs, it's okay if they figure it out. Like, sometimes you build it up, and that's why you do it, because you hope somebody figures it out, and then when they get there, they're like, boom, I was right. I saw this coming. It's not always fun to just, like, take that away from people.
Right.
Like, that's a part of every story. You can have twists. I added a pretty good one, I thought. But sometimes you got to keep it, the way people think it's going to go.
Right.
Because you've already kind of alluded to that.
Exactly. And when we get to that point, I think Zion's going to have a really tough decision. Because what he wants and what he has right now, he really likes what he has right now, but you can't have two beasts.
No.
That's too broken.
It is.
That's a tough call. I don't like that. That I am not looking forward to. I love where it's going. And then when I created the character, I knew at some point that I'm going to have to lose that. Lose Una. But that's something that's going to be really tough if and when it happens. I think it's more so when, not an if, but
only one way to find out.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions for me? Do you want to know anything about the world, about like the process that goes into building it, the characters? What's up? What are you curious about? What are you curious about that I can answer? We can keep this just here,
Yeah.
That won't affect things in the future.
Yep.
Yeah. Open book.
How obviously it's kind of an open-ended question, but how many different scenarios do you see? Because we've talked in the outside of the podcast and outside of session before, and there's a pirate theme kind of arc that you have laid out there if we ever get to it. How many of those do you have?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
A lot.
Interesting. That's good.
A lot.
With different kind of like...
Yeah. I have one. I think I told you about it. I have like a Hell's Kitchen planned for you guys at some point, maybe, if you ever get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's literally Gordon Ramsay, a human, bossing around a whole bunch of demons in a kitchen. Or devils, my apologies. And they're like crying and they have to like leave and stuff. He's like, pathetic.
I hope we find that. I hope, and to be honest, I thought we had found the pirate arc.
No.
You're talking about like this captain comes out. I'm like, we found the pirate arc, and we were doing sea shanties, and boy was I wrong. Yeah. Boy was I wrong.
Yeah, no. This is gonna be way more fun because it also those change. As soon as you guys did Deals in the Dark, my entire my entire plan changed because it had to.
Yeah.
Because now you're at a different point where I didn't think you guys were gonna be already, and that's also why you guys got the double up.
Yep. As I say, you don't normally get 2 levels.
No. And that threw a wrench in my plans, and I'm like, okay, just gotta move and change things, and now they've been changed, and that's why you're on the arc you are now. Because I'll say, no, I won't. No, I can't.
Good call.
Yep. But this arc was planned at a different time, but that had to change when you guys did what you've done. When you guys made the choices you did. Not that it's bad at all. No, I love what you guys did.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I like what we did just because it allowed me to do something with Zion that I didn't think I was ever going to get to do. To be honest, I thought I was going to run Ranger all the way through to level.
Yeah.
Whenever we ended our campaign, to be honest, like I was looking at like what the Beastmaster subclass got at 5 and 7 and 12 and 15 and all the different stuff, and be like, okay, so when I get to this level, I kind of want to take this and this as a spell, just because it's going to be really helpful. And I think the party's kind of lacking in this, and I think it'd be really helpful for me and for the party. And then we took Deals in the Dark, and I'm like, multi-classing seems kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when
it makes sense.
And it makes, I'm just so, it's so cool to me how well character, like story and character-wise that works into like the dynamic of how like it plays. And like I've done probably more research than I probably should into it, just because I want to understand the sorcerer and like how it works. And
yeah,
I thought I had a good ranger. I would say is not a simple class, but it's a
fairly simple class.
There's not a lot of meat to it.
Right.
You shoot arrows. You swing your swords. You're good at tracking.
You've got an animal that helps you do both of those.
Yeah, it was a good like starter. I think it's a good starting class for anyone who's starting D&D.
Absolutely.
Where sorcerer, there's a lot more to it. Where like you've got
meta magic.
Meta magic is so cool. I love the meta magic and just like the possibilities you can do with that. It's spell casting. I was scared of it at first. Like even with the ranger spells, I was like, I don't want to mess this up. And I will say, I still, spell slots and spells and the number of spells is still a little foreign to me. I'm getting a better understanding of it. I will say I'm not as intimidated by it. I just want to, and when I say I get scared, it's just, I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to be, I don't want it to be where like you get a total of 4 spells and I've got like 7 spells. I'm like, oh my God, I have 3 extra spells that I'm not supposed to have. Oh no.
Right.
And so when I say I'm scared, that's what I don't want to overpower my character.
Right.
Unintentionally. I would never do it intentionally because I want to.
Of course.
But that's probably was the most worried part about multi-classing into the sorcerer. But it just made so much sense beautifully. I mean, the first paragraph is like, you're invoked with this power that you don't understand. And it's like, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It's exactly what happened. And the draconic bloodline, it works into how well and how much Zion is so infested with dragons and wants to get one and not be one, but master one.
Have the status of one, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. It just works great.
Yeah, I loved how beautifully that worked. Just from a Zion character standpoint and like creating that and being like, I did not expect that to go there, but it did.
But it did.
It did.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I'm so excited. Because like, it's a little hard because a lot of people say, with sorcerer, you have a D6 hit dice. So you try not to get into melee a lot, which I still want to do because Zion's a very melee. I still have the double swords that I really, really like them. So I want to try to keep
Obsidian now.
Yeah, Obsidian. Oh, that's so dope. I just picture it in my head. I'm like, oh, it looks such like a badass. He gets eaten by rugs, but he's such a badass.
Yeah, but he looks cool while doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what matters.
Exactly.
And if he gets mad, just fireball the carpet.
Exactly. I'm so excited to get fireball.
Everyone is. Everyone always is.
Because
there was a picture I saw on Instagram, and it was like when you reach whatever level it is as a sorcerer, warlock, or not warlock, wizard, bard, and it's him like this, and his D6 is raining from the sky as fire.
That's honestly though, like I was watching a couple videos, and they were like haste and fireball.
Yeah,
those are 2 great spells, and if you don't take,
as long as combat doesn't last long, haste is fantastic.
What do you mean by
combat?
Oh, combat, yes.
Yes, combat. Yeah. Because after it lasts, I think, a minute or something, you get stunned for a round. Yeah.
That's how Oberon died.
Yeah, it is. R.I.P. Oberon.
He's back now. It's fine.
It's true. Other questions?
Going off dying and what inspired like the sword space? And that concept of this, like, it's not even I guess it's like pocket plane.
It's a cyst in the universe.
Yeah. How did you make that? How did that come about? What was the
Yeah.
inspiration for that?
So there's a lore for Destiny, which is a game I used to play, and you would fight these like alien creatures, and you worship like this like light, and it's all the power of good, and all this stuff, and they worship the power of darkness, and darkness set upon 3 of them and said, your sole purpose is conquest. Now go forth in the universe and destroy every species you come across. Destroy each other and grow more powerful from this. And when you die, you go into this separate throne world that you have, and you can build it up on the corpses of the millions or the hundreds of millions that you kill throughout the universe. I was like, that's cool, but what if it wasn't evil? What if it was a force in the universe that was just about survival and about, making sure that others don't encroach upon the things that are yours, and, standing up for the things that you believe in? What if that's a power that's in this world that is, the opposite of, the other force, the chaotic, destruction and creation, where this is lawful. You're protecting what's yours, taking back what's yours, establishing order,
standing up for yourself.
Standing up for yourself. What if that was not bad? Because neither is bad, but they both don't like each other, right? Where in Destiny, it's bad and good, basically. This is how it's given. But I was like, that's such an interesting concept. I don't want it to be just bad. And what if the players had access to this, What if they were able to take this and make it something that, benefits them, where they ride the line between good and evil? Those are my favorite stories.
Right.
And this is something that pushes on the dark, but can be used for not dark, and maybe should be used for dark sometimes with Cerulean.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know why she nuked it. You think it's to grow more powerful and whatever, and there is an ounce of that, but there's different reasons that you guys don't know yet.
It's to I imagine it as kind of there's a DC comic group of heroes where they ride that line where it's like, well, similar to kind of Batman.
Batman's a vigilante.
Yeah, it's that vigilante line where it's like, well, he's doing good, but the way he's going about it is not good.
Right, like nuking a city, irrevocably not a good thing. But the good guys in this world are the Platinum Legion. They have people stationed in every continent, in every country, and they look over everyone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still like bad stuff that happens. Are they not doing a good enough job? Or is the world too much for one like group to handle? You've got a god at the helm, but he can only do so much.
Yep.
As you've seen, he wasn't able to stop the nuke from going off. No. He was dealing with somebody else on the other side of the world. He had to pull troops from your country to just deal with it because he's getting so bad so quickly.
Yep.
So what happens when the ruling class is good, but it's everywhere overreaching,
overworked?
Yeah.
Because there's so much bad.
There is.
Say that with air quotes.
Yeah, and I mean they locked away the worst of it, but it's still out there.
Mm-hmm. Because you're never gonna get rid of it.
You can't.
No.
Not in D&D, and not in the real world.
No.
You never can, and that's one of the things I said in the monologue, the beginning monologue. There's still things that lurk in the shadows and leviathans in the deep. Like that's just a part of the world. Yeah. Never thought that would come back, did you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, other questions. Did I answer it?
Yeah, no, I think you did. I think that speaks to the theme of the entire campaign.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I think that's a good theme. That's a nice theme.
Do you know what I have a title for the campaign. Did I ever tell you what it is?
I don't think we've heard the title.
Do you want to?
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's Salvation. That's the name of the campaign.
That is a title that makes a whole hell of a lot of sense for the campaign. At least from Zion's perspective. And I think, talking with Kyle 2 episodes ago, I think that works for his character. I feel like that works a lot
for everyone.
All of our characters, and I don't think we realize it. Because one of the things you wanted to make sure that was, I think some of us took it too far, I would say. Like, not that you, how do I say this? Like, you told us not to, like, give away some of our character things.
Yeah.
But I think
keep your secrets is what I said. I think I said.
Yeah. but I think we, as players, we all were too hesitant with talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, don't talk about like your race or your class, but you know, I felt like I didn't know anyone going
for a little bit, yeah,
going into it. Yeah, which I mean, that's how it's supposed to feel.
But you feel like they didn't share enough because I kind of pushed that a little too hard?
Not that you pushed it too hard, that everyone's like, oh, we can't talk about this. Let's not talk about it. Don't ruin it. Because I think we saw how much work you were putting into it, and we're like, well, we have to match that energy. We want to, which was the wrong mentality to take.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I made it for you guys. This is for you guys to enjoy. It's your playground.
I'm having a shit ton of fun in it. It works so well. And like with Edwin's character, it's nice to have that half elf from the Dominion. There's not an unspoken, but just kind of I would say the closest thing is a brother type, two older brother type relationship where it's not like when you're younger where you fight all the time. It's that you both mature now and you both have this like understanding, and it's just like
it's kind of like a mutual respect kind of thing.
Almost, yeah. I think a mutual respect is a great way to describe it, because like we don't talk a whole lot, but we definitely like we're on the same page. You know, with I already talked about our relationship with Leafa and or not Leafa, sorry, Brazil and Sylvana and Timeless.
All the same person, by the way.
Yeah, she's a changeling.
Yep, shapeshifter.
Arthur, Zion's had too much of a brute force in his life with his dad.
Yep.
So he just kind of shies away from that.
Yeah.
Not shies away, but just doesn't
interact as much as he could.
Yeah. Avoid it as much as possible.
Yep.
Keep it to a minimum.
Exactly.
I will say, from a player's perspective, it was really cool seeing him in the war room with him.
Yeah.
That was. I love that it got nuked, but as a character, as a player, I really wanted to see how that was gonna move forward.
Who says it's not?
It's true, because I don't think
you're
he's
on
dead.
a boat right now.
Because I'm on a boat,
and you don't know how much time has passed.
Well, I know for 4 days for sure.
4 days for sure. But there are also crates of food that are empty in the cargo hold. Multiple. And your animals don't have a lot of meat on or as much meat on their bones as they did.
Yeah.
Anyway, any other questions for me?
Oh, that's worrisome.
Yeah. Yeah.
What other questions do I have about this world? How did the multiverse come to you? I have an idea, just because that's kind of a big theme in movies right now. Or not movies, but like studios. Studios are very into the multiverse type thing with their different movies all tying together and whatnot. So is that where that came from with the multiverse within our campaign, or where did that come from?
I'll tell you, but
if you're worried that it's gonna ruin stuff, don't say it.
I can't answer the question without correcting you in some way.
Okay.
Now you're gonna wonder what that is.
Yep.
But there's a certain level of finesse that comes with what you're asking, and I can't answer that.
Okay.
At this time, what inspired me, I can't answer that, because then it
kind of gives it away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the inspiration that you think. It wasn't Marvel or anything like that inspired me. It's something very different from D&D lore, actually, I think, or my perception of D&D lore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that is a concept that that Critical Role doesn't really explore.
Nope.
It is one world that's existing.
Yep.
That's it.
There's other dimensions, but that's in every D&D world.
Yeah. Because you gotta have the Feywild and the
Shadowfell,
and all that stuff. So I get that, but that's the one thing that I weirdly like. It's like
Yeah.
Because I'm a big Marvel fan, so I like this multiverse stuff. So when Kyle had the dream and we had the one shot that tied it all together, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. Still kick myself that I didn't do Faku and that I could have brought back Faku.
Could have.
I could have, but that's okay.
It's all right.
Faku will have his time.
Yes.
Or
time in the sun.
No, he hates the sun.
He hates the sun. He hates it.
What other questions? I'll throw it to you. Do you have any questions from me, from DM to player, that you are always curious about, or
mostly just that you guys have fun? There's no point in me running it if you guys don't have fun. I've said that before, but it's really true. And on the sessions where I feel like you guys didn't, it sucks because I'm like, man, I really feel like maybe someone in particular didn't have fun. And so it's like,
As I'll throw you this question then. As a DM, how do you make sure to balance that? Because I can't imagine balancing 6 people, making sure that they all have fun. Like I barely can do it with like 3 people when I'm hanging out with 3 people. It's hard to do that for so long with so many people. Like how do you do that? How do you prep for that? How do you kind of walk me through that process?
Different people like different things, and it's really hard because different people like different things. And sometimes, not that it's a bad thing, but sometimes people don't like something. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening right now, is the thing that they don't like. Mm-hmm. So, like, one person in the party, I think, likes combat a lot. Like, really likes combat. Yeah. And right now, you know...
we haven't actually had a fight.
In 2-3 sessions? 2 sessions. You murdered those bandits.
That's,
technically a fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now it's a lot of like mind intrigue and am I going insane with these other people? Why are we here? Why is there these weird drawings? Why am I getting visions of this, stuff?
A lot of group building, a lot of role play building.
Heavy role play right now.
Which I'm okay. I like the role play as much as I like combat. I miss the combat right now, but
Leatfa on the role play picked up like a champ. Like coming off that dream sequence into the whole insanity thing that's happening right now, phenomenal. I could not be happier. So good. It drove so much like interactions between the party. Chef kiss. If Sarah ever listens to this podcast, so good. That's my bread and butter as the DM. I didn't do a lot of work.
Nope.
No, it was all you guys. Like asking questions, trying to solve this. Then you find the notebook, and then you open the notebook to the page, and then you guys are all like, what? And then even Daniel's like, I didn't see that coming. And I'm like, yeah, like there's a lot of weird stuff happening. What's going on? And you guys are like trying to figure it out. And then your ship runs aground while you're underneath trying to like figure everything out. And then you guys are like, what was that? And then you find the island, and it's weird.
Yep.
And yeah. That's what I strive for. But balancing, it's hard. You got to just make sure that you like, when Father I crave violence, that you throw them some violence every once in a while to make sure that like they like that, that they get that.
Yeah. Do you find yourself reaching out to, not as a whole group, but individuals within our party to make sure that, like, how do you do that? Like, because I'm guessing you're pretty inept, or not inept. You're very aware of what everyone's...
You're very inept, Matt.
That was not the right word. That was the exact opposite of what I wanted. You're very aware of, I'm guessing, all 6 of us at the table and how we're feeling and how we're vibing.
I do my best.
Yeah. So do you find that the best way to make sure you're keeping this balance is by reaching out to those who you feel are not having a good time? Or
a lot of the times it'll be through actions. I'll be like, hey, I need to check from you real quick. Or or somebody's like doing something for a while, I'll be like, we'll take a break for that for 1 second because you were asking to do something earlier, right?
Okay.
And then they're like, yeah, I wanted to read the symbols on the wall. And I'm like, yeah, give me a check for that. Yeah, you try your best to like figure out the symbols.
Okay.
But it's like languages being like all thrown together, and it's like, oh, what? That's so weird. And I'm like, yeah, it is. Like, do you want to talk to anybody about that? Yeah, I do want to talk. Yeah, who you want to talk? Yeah, no. And then you like build it up to there, and then bring somebody else back in who might not be having a good time. And then it's, where are you working on that? Oh, well, the Pocket Paradise would be good. Oh, well, Arthur has access to the Pocket Paradise. You want to talk to him about it? Yeah, I do. Okay. And then, it ties into there. And so that way you just find ways that you can
that's really interesting.
Bring people together. Because,
like, from a player standpoint who doesn't know a whole lot about D&D, it's like, Matt's just having me make this check. And it's nice to see the flip side of that. It's like, you're making sure people stay engaged, which
the one thing I can't stand, and it happens a lot, and I do my best to not get upset about it, but when people get on their phones, it upsets me. And I get that they're like, well, I'm not, like, doing anything right now. And I'm like, yeah, I guess, but, like, your friend's doing something. Like, don't you want to pay attention to that? Because maybe something important's going to happen.
Right. Stay engaged.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair to ask from everyone. I know there's been 1 or 2 times I've checked my phone.
You're not what I'm referencing.
Right. No, I know. I just...
Specifically when one player pulled out their phone and then started listening to something, like no headphones or anything, I got pretty upset from that. That's just blatant disrespect in my eyes.
Right. Because everyone at the table was engaged or supposed to be engaged in this character within this setting, and
they were like, well, it's not my character. I'm like, I get that. I get it's not your character, but it's one of your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And they pay attention when you're doing stuff. So it's a two-way street.
Right.
And so.
How do you balance, because this happens a lot at the table, actually, where there's like there's usually 2, sometimes there's even 3 different things happening within the party.
Yeah.
Where there's maybe, this happens a lot, where Ober and Arthur and I are having a conversation about battle or something, and then Leah from Brazil are having a conversation, and Edwin's trying to do something with his casting. And how do you manage all of that? Because from a player standpoint, I see it, and I try to, from my standpoint, I try to do my best, but I also want to, character-wise, I try to stay engaged in the conversation that's being had with me. Because as much as Oberon and I, not even butt heads, but as much as we like to give each other shit and be like, wow, Oberon, you fucking meditate a lot.
Yeah.
Fucking dumbass. Like, there's still, I think, an underlying respect we have for one another, because I think we do come from a lot of similar backgrounds.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize. So, I still want to engage conversation with him and do that. And Kyle is my friend, and I want to not be disrespectful to him when we're trying to role play.
Yeah.
Because role play is important.
It's extremely important.
It
moves
is.
The story forward.
Yeah.
But how do I balance all that?
Yeah. How do you keep everyone from not stepping over toes or anything like that?
Well, that happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But you just gotta, if something's flowing right now, and if there's more people, it also whoever gets my attention first.
Okay.
I'll be, okay, yeah, you guys wanted to do this. Okay, we'll let that play out, and we'll come back to you guys. Like, don't worry, we're just gonna let this happen for just a little bit, because one of the most important tools you have as the DM is timing on stuff. So if you can tell somebody's gonna start a fight, you'd be like, just 1 second before you do that, because I think this person wanted to say something to them, the person that you're gonna fight with, but they got there first to talk to them, and then. Okay, they got the information they want. Now, you were gonna hit him, I think. Yeah. Okay, go ahead and roll.
Right. Well, because I think you did a really good job with that when it was in the last session, and I was up top with the captain,
and they were tying her up,
and there was
Arthur and Oberon were having
5 different things going on all at once, and you timed it out really well, where it all worked out because. They tied her up, and then Edwin came up and wanted to talk to me, and then wanted to talk to Sylvana and Arthur, and it was all just a bunch of stuff. And to be honest, I was like, "Whoo! I do not want to be in charge of this right now." So
I loved it. It's a bit more art than science.
Yeah.
There's no thing I do where I'm like, okay, well, it's been 5 minutes and 52 seconds. Okay, when your time is done, now we're gonna move it. It's okay, we just hit a crescendo on the scene. His powers got snuffed out. Let's leave him there for a second and come to these people because that's got his interest. Everybody's like, ooh, and now I'm like putting the tension back to 0 while they're tying her up. And now it's building. Oh my gosh, she's like trying to bang her head on the floor. Oh, now we're going to go to Oberyn and Arthur. What are they doing now? Oh, wow. So interesting because then now it's going to tie back in a little bit later when they have to reconcile that, you know? So it's a lot of like balancing tension, kind of like a horror movie, I guess, in a way.
Yep.
Where you got the build up and release.
Story.
Any story, yeah. I think that's absolutely true. I think it's exemplified in horror. That's my bad.
No, you're good. It is exemplified. I think you do a really good job of it, though. I think what happened last session, I give you great props for, because there's like we went back and retconned something, and then there was a lot of moving parts at different times.
Yep, we did have to retcon something because I didn't understand that. That's a fault of mine.
I don't see retcon as a bad thing.
No, it's not, but that is a failing of mine. Just being candid. If that didn't happen, then it would have flowed a lot cleaner.
Gotcha.
But more questions? Anything about the world you want to know about, like the making of it, the making of the characters, like how I see stories going, like not specific, like things that are going to happen, but how
how did you? So obviously the gods are a pretty. I wouldn't say. Granted, I'm gonna say this with the perspective of from a DM where the gods are kind of laid out for you a little bit, where you have Bahamut's kind of the main one, and the Raven Queen's kind of the passage from life to death, and
right. They each have their domains.
Yeah, so that's a pretty easy thing to figure out, and you can vary that a little bit.
I do, by the way. Bahamut is just like supposed to be like the god of like justice and stuff.
Okay.
That's not what he is in this world. He is that, but
he's more than that.
The premise for him was what happens if there's a lawful good world dictator.
Oh.
What happens when somebody who's actually good
is
in charge of everything? And what does good mean then when you have to like wrangle so many different types of people and cultures and they don't agree with each other at all, but there's also these demons and other powers that are trying to tear it all down. Like how much control are you supposed to have? And
so you have those.
Yep. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, you're good. And then you have the opposite, the counterpart with the Titans.
Yep.
I would say. But then you also have the counterpart to the Titans with the Deep.
Yep.
Walk me through the creation of that. Because I would argue that most D&D or most campaigns, most worlds don't have that third counterpart and a counterpart to that counterpart, where I'm guessing it doesn't end with just the Deep, where it's the Deep, the Titans, and the gods. It's more than that. There's a lot more to that circle that we haven't figured out yet.
There is.
Yeah. I'm very excited to figure out the rest of that.
Yes.
The rest of that. Walk me through what went into that and how you came up with that.
So I took a look at all the planes, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, well, these were all created. Okay, well, then it's like, well, how? And I could be like, well, it was the gods that created them. I would be like, or it was something else. So that's why each of the Titans are locked away in a different plane. Except for one, the Prime Material, which is why the Dawnbringer like ushers in the day-night cycle of the Prime Material. She protects the plane.
Okay.
Is her job. And she sided with the gods. Do you remember that from the opening monologue? She helped seal away the other Titans.
I don't remember from the opening monologue, but I know that the Dawnbringer is a Titan.
Yep.
And which is, since I didn't remember that from the opening monologue, I always kind of like, I thought the Titans were bad. Or in this world, bad. I'm air quoting that.
Yep. They were definitely frowned upon because they would destroy things and then create new things constantly, which is hard for civilizations to set up in a landscape like that.
Can't really thrive when something
gets
destroyed.
Can't really survive for very long if some giant, chaotic entity of pure matter and energy is coming through and reshaping reality.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a little hard to live through. So there's those, right?
Okay. Yep.
The Dawnbringer helps seal the rest of them away with the gods. The races of the world, and the Prime Material Titans sealed them away. Nobody knows where the deep fits in. Not a lot of people know about the deep.
Okay. God, I love that. I will just to go off a little rabbit hole on this.
Yeah.
If I still am super happy I multi-classed, the other class I would have like delved into that I don't think fits better, but fits on the same level would have been a paladin.
Yeah.
I think for any of the if you multi-class, consider a paladin, because that's essentially, in my mind, in my thought process, that's what we are for the deep. Like getting to like where I'm at in Critical Role, like all these people are coming champions of the different gods, and we're essentially we became that for the deep, more so on their ideals, but we're championing their ideals and taking that to the prime material.
You're becoming their ideals. You're becoming the paragon of what it means for you specifically to be conquest.
Yep.
Right. That's the token of the larger whole of power that is the deep that you are now exemplifying for others.
Mm-hmm. And
it's
take
like
on that,
being a champion.
Yeah, you take on that responsibility of showing that and being a good example of it. Because
it is the paradigm that governs your existence now.
Yep, because if we don't do that, if we don't be a good example, if we don't show that through our being, then the
power consumes you.
Yep. We cease to exist.
Yeah. You get a lot of perks with it, though. You stop aging. You get a space that you go to when you die. Just don't die in there, because then...
That's bad.
Yep. No takesies backsies in that one. Yeah. You die there, you're donezo. And that's any sword space. That's not just your own.
Right.
Because they're different, but they share the same properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't go into somebody else's and create new stuff in there, but the same rules apply no matter which throne world you're in. Or sword space, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
But we went on a rabbit hole. What were we talking about before then?
Kind of your thought process in creating the deep and throwing that third and whatever else into this wheel of kind of the creators of the.
So what are the gods? You'd say they're lawful or chaotic?
Bit
of both is the answer.
Yeah.
They're a bit of both. So they're the middle. We got the Titans on chaos. I'm like, well, there's some chaotic gods and there's some lawful gods. And then there's some neutral gods, some gods that do both. And I'm like, They got rid of the Titans because the Titans were intruding on their ability to exist. Mm-hmm. Well, what other force in the universe is there? Law. Mm-hmm. But what does that specifically mean? Like how is that different from what the Titans do? The Titans create and destroy constantly. So there has to be something that wants to survive, right? That wants to live, that wants to fight and claw just to exist. Because there's something else that just keeps creating, right? Yep. So there has to be an equal opposite force that wants stability, that wants to exist, right?
And I think in most of D&D worlds, people would be like, well, Titans create and destroy, gods look to keep that balance. But I think I really like what you did where you take it a step further and you're like, the gods do that, but if something changes, they're not going to go raise fire and brimstone about it.
Right.
They're going to allow that to happen because that's how fate works.
Right.
Whereas the deep, which you created, is more like, this is how it's supposed to be. Boom, boom, boom.
And what does... You guys don't know because you haven't explored it too much, but what does it mean for something to be? What does it mean for... Like, what existence gets to stay, right? Like, what does that mean? Does that apply to everything or not? Have some, like, entities or races or something thrown that away so that power goes to something else? You know?
Ooh, that's a neat concept.
Yes, it is. And what does it mean when some people like that, say a group of adventurers, find that and decide that, you know what? We like that. We like these qualities that have been kind of shunned upon or taken by other people. And now we take them for ourselves. And we use them to rise up what other things have thrown away. Why is it that somebody gets to become the aspect of conquest? Well, logically, it's because there are no conquerors out there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there are some, they don't live up to the ideals of the deep. They've thrown them away. So now somebody else gets to come in. Something to think about.
I like that a lot. That makes a lot of sense. I think that's a good... I hope someday that you get to implement that ideal into D&D lore as an accepted thing, as a norm for D&D across the board. Because I think it's just a good like give and take. Whereas psychologically, humans like things in threes. Boom, boom, boom. Beginning, middle, end.
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Our parents, when they were disciplining, they gave us a 3, 2, 1 countdown. It's just psychologically,
True.
Humans do things in patterns of 3 for some odd reason. Rule of thirds, we use it in film all the time because visually it's so appealing to us.
I am head nodding vigorously.
Yes. It's just a psychological concept that humans have. So to take D&D lore and break it, and humans like 1 and 2, they like good, evil, and that's in film and a lot of other things too, where good will conquer over evil. And
well, look at the alignment chart. It's in threes.
Yeah.
Lawful, good, and evil. Chaotic, neutral, lawful. Good, neutral, evil. Lawful, neutral, chaos.
Yes. It's so you take the Titans and the gods, which is accepted across D&D lore, and it's just a common...
And gods both good and bad, too.
Right.
Because there are lawful bad gods and chaotic bad gods and neutral bad gods.
Mm-hmm.
But they all fit under the category of gods. Yep.
Yes. You take them... They're not even considered gods. It's a whole new entity. And you make that at the same level of power as the Titans and the gods. It's just that whole ideal and concept is, I love it. It's like, now you throw a third wrench in there. And it gives all the races and all the classes something else to believe in.
Yeah.
It makes the gods...
Well, but it's been sheltered and like put away.
Right.
And why? Why has it been put away? Like, was it the gods? Was it just people not accepting it anymore? Was it because people threw it away or because people couldn't accept it?
Mm-hmm.
People weren't strong enough to accept it. Nobody knows.
I think it's such... I hope... Because it's such a cool concept and so much there to devour as a storyteller and as any D&D character wants. I feel like adding that third entity and ideal set into the D&D lore on this like Titans, gods, and then the deep, adding that third is just so... It makes your character... It helps you build a character. Because you have a character like Zion, who's lawful evil, who normally is not about the Titans. He doesn't want to go up and... He doesn't want to go and tear apart everything. He's not gonna go murder everyone he runs into. He knows there's good people in the world.
Yeah.
And that they need to be kept on the world and to help him and to help others. But he also knows there are bad people that need to be taken care of and kept in check. And whereas the God sometimes feels like, oh, everyone is good and you can find the light in everybody. And the Titans are more like, destroy, 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 destroy.
And create new.
Right.
But that destroys pre-existing things, which Zion would be like, I like living.
Yeah. I like having this 5,000-year-old castle and... Yep. Yikers.
Yeah, yikers. But no, I see what you're saying.
Whereas the deep, it's like, that's right down there. That is his ideal set. That's what he believes in. And not everyone in the party has that mindset, but I'm guessing there's a lot of characters that going through an entire campaign struggle finding a god that fits their ideals.
Or just something that fits their ideals.
Something that fits their ideals, yeah. It's hard because there's a give and take, because when you worship something, it's not going to completely fit your ideal set, but the deep creates this more of a...
That gets into something else.
Okay.
If I can build off.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you remember when I told you the powers of the deep are paracausal?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you mean when you say that?
Basically, that just means fate has its course, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because now you have this fundamental power of the universe, you can exert your power on fate and change it. And you're no longer, you've risen above that. You're no longer governed by that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why the patron, Oberon's patron, was freaking out when you guys like came down here. Because he's like, whoa, we don't know what's going to do. And Cerulean was like, shut up. I have this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because she helped lead you guys down there. And that's a really hard thing to balance because the Raven Queen makes sure that fate's always like on
track
going. The Titans aren't, right? The Titans like take fate and like throw it all around the place because they're constantly changing things in unexpected ways. They have paracausal force, and now so do you, right? These are forces above fate, which means you can change it, redirect it, break it if need be.
Yep.
Like that's the power that you have now. It's fundamental to the universe, right? To creation.
Mm-hmm.
I got on a rabbit hole about that, and I forgot what I was trying to say. I'm going to be 100. What were we talking about?
We were talking about, I was talking about how, the deep offers a third belief set, mindset, ideals for D&D characters that don't fit under the God umbrella because they're struggling, because they don't, like I use an example, Zion, he probably wouldn't he has a hard time finding a God to worship.
Yeah.
And at this point in his life, he hasn't found one yet. Mm-hmm. He's not like Leatfa, who has the whatever her goddess is.
Yep.
Or he's not like Oberon, who has a patron that he made a deal with. Yep. He doesn't. He's not even like Edwin, who has Bahamut, or Arthur, who had both of them had, and I think they still. Like you told us, we can still talk to the gods, but it's not so much on a we worship you, we put our faith into you. It's more of a, hey, you have control over this. Help me, or what the fuck's going on with this?
Yeah.
So it's more of a we're coworkers now, not so much a you're my boss.
Right. Well, you remember when you first got these powers and came back to the Prime Material, the protector of the Prime Material had to check you guys out. Mm-hmm. Like the Titan that was there, made her way, stopped the day and night cycle to come to you guys and check out what you were doing. Right. Why were these what, 5? Why are there 5 more paracausal beings now?
Yep.
Why do they exist? Why are they here? Are they good? Are they bad? Okay, I'm going to take a scan of all of them. Okay, I don't know what their plans are because they don't even know what they are yet.
Right.
How does that fit into the balance of the world right now? I don't know. I still have to continue the day-night cycle. I will keep an eye on them.
Yep. So I think you creating, and this is stemming back now, is you creating that third belief and ideal system in our campaign. I hope someday it reaches out to all D&D campaigns and all D&D lore to be implemented in campaign after campaign after campaign. So I think it adds another layer, another thick layer into D&D and to the basics of how you create a character. Because now you can give your character that ideal mindset. Because you yourself mentioned how even though the Dominus doesn't know that he's worshiping the deep, he follows a lot of the same mindset. And he is without knowing so, he's a very heavy believer in the deep.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
And they told you, like he doesn't know, but he does follow these, like, guidelines, or not guidelines, paradigms. Like, he's going to be a tough competitor. Like, know that.
But yeah, it's I'll let Kyle know to cut at that point.
Yep. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, he'll figure it out. Well, when you're editing it, you don't want to sit through the hour and 20 minutes of footage, but
hour 18 mark.
Yeah. I hope for you that you get to the point where you can implement that and that be a general accepted concept.
That would be so awesome.
Because you see that a lot with, Matt does it Matt has a few things where he's implemented into normal D&D lore.
Yeah, he's had a whole book. Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, and I think, I don't know if Tal'Dorei got its own thing. I don't know, but it might have. That would be awesome. I don't think I'm talented enough for that to be a thing, unfortunately. I don't think I have the reach for that to be a thing.
I want you to get to that point where you can.
It would be awesome. It would be awesome. I hope I do.
Because I think that's something that, and maybe a lot of homebrew campaigns have that, and it's just a homebrew idea, and it's not. Because the thing that Matt has is they webcast their streams, and it gets out there, and they have a big following, and people are like, how do you stat? Because he has a whole class, doesn't he? He has multiple
classes.
Yeah,
he's got the gunslinger. He's got the hexblade. He's got Echo Knight is what they're called, where you can make like a shadow version of yourself that fights with you, and it has like I think it's like a quarter of your hit points or something like that.
Right.
But
isn't there like a werewolf class too?
That's in the hexblade.
Oh, that's in the hexblade. Okay.
Yep. Which I feel like is a little underpowered if you want to just go like full claws. I looked at it a little bit. I wish that was a little bit stronger. But a good way to like supplement that as a DM now I know. Magic items. Give them a magic item that would help them with stuff like that. You know.
Yeah.
So, but magic items. That's one thing I need to work on for being a DM is handing out treasure. It's so hard for me to know what to hand out, like and when, and what people will actually like. Because when I handed you guys all the little stuff on the ship, I was curious because I was like, I wonder if people are gonna like not like this or like look at it as a challenge to see how useful something can be.
I'm looking at mine as a challenge.
Yeah.
And
I feel like that's fun.
Right.
Give them weird items.
Right. They are definitely weird. The Boots of Frost, in my opinion, if I had spoken up, I definitely would have taken the Boots of Frost first.
Yep.
That makes sense for Zion.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we're coming off an arc and a half, I would argue, balance between the nuke and then the deals in the dark. Whereas, like, I took a lot of the leads and spoke up quite a bit. And I was like, okay, we're going to
back up a little bit.
Back off a little bit.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people like the pumpkin.
Yeah.
The pumpkin is hard to figure out how to use.
Yep.
And I'm good with that. I'm like, okay, at the time, I was like, okay, we're going to go fight basilisks. How can I use this to my advantage to make it easier for the whole party to get the basilisk oil we need? My thoughts were drop it on the basilisk's head or have it grow over a few of their holes that they're going to come out of. And kind of like a gopher where you put a hose down one hole and put a bucket on the other. You know it's going to come out that other hole so you can be ready. And then we get a surprise round on it. And maybe I actually shoot an arrow for once in my life as a ranger.
What?
I know. Maybe it's me, Sylvana, and Leatfa. We all shoot the basilisk eyes out so it can't see. So we have basically take away its superpower, and it makes it that much easier to kill. And that's from a DM standpoint, like that's how I would. Like I don't know if you'd give me a magical pumpkin that grows, and you're like, do something with it, and that's what I would do with it. And I think from your standpoint, that's like I don't know if that's how you thought that's what I was going to do. And I guess from your standpoint, what were you expecting me to do with the pumpkin?
No idea.
Perfect.
That's why I do stuff. That's why I do a lot of the things I do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't come up with solutions to problems. I come up with the problems.
It's for us to figure out.
Right. That's the story, right?
Yep.
If I come up with the solutions, then you guys are going to be like, will this work? And I'll be like, there's a better way to do it. And that's not fun for anyone.
Right.
Who has fun with that? No, you guys come to me with plans, and I'm like, all right, like, this part makes sense. That part seems a little weird. We'll see how that part goes, and then we go through it. But yeah, that's kind of what I have to say on that, I
Right.
suppose. Anything else? Any other questions?
I think we covered quite a bit.
We did. But if you want to know anything else, now's the time.
Yeah. So many questions that I could ask.
Go on.
What's Oberyn's backstory and how?
Nope.
I know. That was a joke.
Yep.
That was a joke. Why does he meditate so
Yeah.
much?
What's with the meditation? Well, actually, it's a deep childhood trauma.
That's funny.
One time he was sitting alone. No.
Ooh.
No.
Yikers.
Yeah. Okay.
When you created Cerulean,
Yeah.
when obviously we met her as a child.
Yeah.
Did you know that she was gonna have the powers of the deep?
She was one of the runners. I had 3 people as the runners for who would have the power of the deep.
Okay.
I had 3. And as the story went on, and I was creating Cerulean, and it was in my head probably around summertime, I was like, what happens when you give an archmage, like, the ability to become a child? And then I was like, well, not the ability. What if you force them to be a child? Well, what happens when you become a child? You forget things. Well, what do you forget? You know? She forgot sarcasm, right? That was something she couldn't remember as a child. Her brain just couldn't hold it. It's like, what if Cerulean has, without spoiling too much, has this goal that she can't remember now because she's a child? And then some kids, some teens, 20-year-olds get her out of there, and she's able to get to a different lab where she can age herself back up. And then now, what if she remembers her goal? And now, a couple 100 years have passed. She hasn't had time to enact that, but these people help her. What is she to do with that? Maybe help them out a little bit.
Yep.
And now you're starting to remember the things that you have. You're starting to remember what your goals are. Now you remember the person you just met is related to one of them. Now, what does that mean? Now, how does that tie in? Now, where does the story go from there? Because now you remember all these other things, and you have this power, but you've also been hiding it, not only from yourself, but from other people.
If I may ask, if it doesn't give it away too much, who are the other 2 front runners?
Do you want to know?
I do want to know.
Okay.
I have a guess.
Go ahead, guess.
Sir Alistair.
Okay.
Was one of them. Then the other one. I want to say Grum, but I don't know.
Okay. It's neither of them.
Oh, really? Okay.
One was the Dragon Prince that's raising hell in the other side of the world.
Okay.
One was him, because I didn't know where the campaign was going to start originally. Remember, summertime, I didn't know.
Yep.
And the other was Bahamut. I didn't know if he would double dip. He would be a god, but he also took the power of the deep because that's what needed to happen to have a world order.
Wow, that's a.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but then I was like, no, I don't want to have that because it would conflict with the ideals. Like what you talked about with the 3, it would break that. There was also another one. I wasn't sure if the Titan would have taken it to become more powerful than all the other ones, to help lock them away.
I guess that makes sense.
You know, and then why is it she doesn't create or destroy anymore? Oh, well, it's because it's half and half now. And that's why she represents the day-night cycle, but I didn't end up going with that.
I like the picture and the ideal and the symbolism with that, though. I think that I also like the Bahamut idea of being like, I need to do this.
Like it's a sacrifice I have to make in order to do all this. And I thought that was cool.
Quote, sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah. But then
Cerulean makes, I love that Cerulean is.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's awesome because you truly do not know the extent of what she is, who she was, all that stuff. You have no idea. And I really am excited to see.
I was just a ranger that was looking how to know a little bit more about dragons. She was the first person I came across that was like, yes, here, take a look.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look in my books. Reading Rainbow.
And you don't know. Do you remember the way she was looking at you when you were like doing that?
from what I remember, she took me down.
Yep.
And I studied in there for like 3
hours.
Yeah. So I thought it was like she took me down and then she went back up to interact with the others.
I meant when she was talking to you. Do you not remember?
At the funeral?
Nope. When you were in the facility and she was having her little dialogue before she let you go in there. It's okay if you don't. We can talk about it later too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Wink.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that I do. We knew Fantasy Target. It's Target just with magical items. I love that concept.
Yeah.
Where did Sir Alistair kind of come from? Because I feel like not to compare it to Critical Role, he's kind of our who is the
Gilmore.
guy? He's our Gilmore. Yeah, not quite there yet, but if anyone's gonna fill that role or character to compare it between the two, he's definitely our Gilmore. What inspired you to create and have us interact with him? Walk me through that creation process and integrating into the campaign.
Right. I already had him figured out. His voice was I get like an Austin Powers vibe off his voice.
Yep.
Which I dig. He had to be a lich because it had to be somebody that you wouldn't like off of looks. It had to be personality.
Yep.
And that's the thing that has to be his
shtick.
Well, not shtick, but people judge how people look right away. And so how do you get a profitable business if you are undead? Like how do you do that? Well, you have to be nice. You have to be charismatic. You have to be willing to like help people. Mm-hmm. And you guys were at a point when you were not having fun. Like it was like bad. So I'm like, here's some poppy music. Here's a tie wearing, hot top having lich that sells magic items because that's what he does. And he goes around and helps people. And that's when I decided to put him in. But I already knew, like, and you guys haven't touched on it yet, but like do people like him? Some people do. The people that know him, but people that don't know him, like they don't like him because he's an undead. Lich. Right. You've met him. He's a good dude.
I gotta give him some iron.
Yeah. But yeah. His whole thing is, how do you be accepted in a world that hates you?
I think he does a pretty good job just because we've talked to him.
Right.
As off the bat, though, it's almost like if you hadn't played the music and you hadn't described him as more of a, because I think your description made us more like, okay, he's here to help. But if we were going solely off unless he's playing
what actually happened.
Yeah.
Like tell them what actually happened without giving who Sir Alistair is.
Undead dude with a cart.
With 2 undead horses.
Driving
in the middle of this creepy woods.
Yeah, it's someone you definitely don't want to... Anyone that runs across this path, you definitely don't want to talk to. Especially someone who's undead, with undead horses, with a carriage and cart full of stuff he's selling. You probably don't want to buy from that because you're probably going to die.
Right. That's not who he is at all, though.
No, he's 100% we couldn't afford anything that he was selling.
Yeah.
It wasn't that we didn't want to buy from it. It's just we couldn't afford it. We wanted to buy stuff. And then that's when Edwin did something I didn't expect him to do at all.
Yeah,
I don't know if you were expecting him to do that either. But
no, I remember that was second, third session in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were still in feel out mode. And then he's like, I sell my ability. It's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's a big part of your character. That's like me saying, yeah, I sell the ability to dual wield. I don't want to know how to fight with swords anymore. Mm-hmm. Solely a bow guy now. Although I could sell fighting with a bow because I know how to do that. I prefer it. But
there was one other thing that I wanted to touch on about how I run things. Mm-hmm. I don't try to railroad. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's super fun.
What do you mean when you say railroading? Sorry, not to get down another rabbit hole, but just so people at home who don't know.
It's when you basically dictate everything that happens. There's not a lot of free choice. It's like you know how there's branching storylines? It's It's like playing The Last of Us. You ever played The Last of Us?
I have not.
It's like playing a story game.
Okay.
Just you don't get to choose anything. Like you're playing through the story that they've written.
Okay.
That's what railroading is. Whereas you play Minecraft.
Yes.
I like my world to be more like Minecraft.
Open world.
But open world, but you still hit certain things because you have to, right? You have to get blaze rods if you ever want to make potions, right? You have to get, Eyes of Ender if you want to kill the Ender Dragon, right? That kind of stuff. I have certain things, like I have points that I want you to hit.
Like Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
Similar or no?
Sort of. There's still a main story to it that you have to follow.
Yeah.
But like, if you guys wanted to go do something else, like if you like drop this entirely, you sail back and you're like, I want to make a castle. Yeah, you're gonna make a castle now. Like, that's what you guys are doing. But other things are still happening in the background, and it's gonna crescendo into this point right here happening. And that's gonna happen, and that's gonna affect your castle. It's gonna affect the people that work there. It's gonna affect you guys, and it's gonna kickstart something, hopefully.
Which might send you down another path, or if you're just super dedicated to build this castle.
Well, yeah. But this point is going to happen. And eventually, stuff's going to happen here, side quest, fun stuff. This point is going to happen. And where this was a really, interesting point, this is a shattering point. This is something so big, so awful, so, whatever. You can't ignore this. This is going to then put you down there's only so many paths now that are left because of this event.
Okay.
Not whatever, but
similar to the books. I don't know if you ever read them in elementary school, but you'd make a choice and
it's not a choose your own adventure book.
Oh, okay.
Because you still get to do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to hit I have 5 points in the campaign. You've already hit one. But there are 5 things that I want to happen.
Okay. Was the point the deals in the dark?
Yeah, and that deals in the dark and then leading to the loss of the capital. That was going to happen no matter what. I wanted that to happen because it's a very shaking, and it was going to happen later, but because we were running out of time, I had to do it now.
Yep.
But it's a very shaking, traumatic, awful thing. And that has sparked a whole bunch of other stuff now.
Okay.
It's a sequence of things, but there's another point that you guys are working towards right now.
Okay.
And when that one goes off, then it's gonna you guys are gonna have what you guys are gonna do your things, and at some point the third one's gonna happen, and then the fourth one, and then the final one, and that's when things will go from to what? Oh my God! What do you mean? What? Oh my God! Hopefully,
similar to, I think Critical Role does a really good job of doing that. You have the Craghammer, not Craghammer, the underneath
Underdark.
Underdark when they start.
Come on.
Yes, that. And they have that, and when I watched it and I was talking to you guys about it, I was like, I think I'm about done.
With the campaign, yeah.
No, not even close.
No.
So, I think you do it very similar to them, where it's
Well, and the 5th one isn't the end, by the way. That's just the one that's yeah. But continue. Yeah, sorry.
But, well, I guess then it's different then because it's not going to, because they're kind of, I'm on 107, 106, 107, and it goes to 115.
Yep.
And they're
ramping up for the final.
Yeah, I'm imagining it. The final episode or the battle's going to happen around 110. They're going to use the last 5 to finally wrap things up and end the campaign, which is roughly how I'm imagining it's going to go. Sorry, I got
You're good.
Alert. It's similar though to our campaign where there's points that you want us to hit. The Briarwood arc is a very essential arc in that first campaign. Obviously, it sets off the final arc.
Yeah,
I would say the Briarwood arc is a key. They have to hit that, otherwise, nothing else. Not the the Vecna doesn't.
And think about it. They have to hit the Briarwood arc, and then after that, they have to hit the Dragon arc because then they're not powerful enough for the final one.
Exactly.
They don't hit the Chroma Conclave arc, they can't take down Vecna. They're not strong enough to.
Yep. Because you have mortals taking on a god, which very hard to do without something or someone giving you champion powers or powers that they got for the Chroma Conclave to take down 5 ancient dragons, which is in of itself, I thought that's where it seemed like it was going to end. I was like, this is undaunting. How do you take on 5 dragons? How do you kill 5 dragons that are all working together? That was a big thing for not Marisha, Laura Bailey. Like she very similar. I think I take a lot of inspiration without meaning to from Laura Bailey's Ranger. Very dragon centered, very Beastmaster, very very similar, very very similar without even trying to really.
But they're very different people.
They are different people, but the build with the dragon knowledge and the Beastmaster, I think, is weird how
similar it is.
How similar that happened, yeah. But like having to go find all the artifacts and use them, and how it's playing into now, like, I just finished up the episode where they have to go forge stuff, and
they're forge. Yeah,
the Dawnfather has to, or not. Ioun gave the knowledge to Percy to know how to craft this thing, but Ioun was like, Grog, you have the ability now you have the knowledge of how to forge. Percy, you have the knowledge of what needs to be forged.
Mm-hmm.
And Grog, you have this ability now because you need a Titan ability to forge, a.k.a. the Titan Stone Knuckles.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have had that without the Chroma Conclave arc, because they wouldn't have needed to search that out.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have even have known what the Titan Stone Gauntlets were if he hadn't been kicked out of Kevdak's clan, which ties into his story, which ties into the full dragon arcs, but which ties into the eventual needing to craft this god-killing weapon.
Exactly. So I think you spoke on it really well. You have points.
Yeah.
You know what happens in between point A and point B and point B to point C. That's totally us.
Yeah.
We have full control and dictation as a group on what happens between point A and point B, what we do, what we get, who we meet, who we don't meet, who we kill, who we don't kill, who we befriend. We had the literal Earth Devil on our campaign for a while.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Lucifer, dude, I loved him. It's sad when he died. But I mean, I don't think you intentionally meant to kill him, but maybe you did. Did you? Were you tired of playing Lucifer?
No, I love Lucifer. He's my favorite.
He's very similar to Sir Alistair, but more tie up and proper.
Yeah.
Sir Alistair's like...
He's proper but cheeky.
Exactly. I love that. I loved it. But yeah, I think most of my questions have been answered. I respect DMing, but I definitely would not want to do it.
That's what a lot of people say.
I think you have an undaunting task that I would never want to make that call on. But I am so glad you're my DM. You're my first DM, because I would not. I don't know if I would want to jump into D&D.
Did I ever tell you why I DM?
Why?
The first person I had, he wasn't bad, but I was like, this is what DMing is. Like, it's gotta be better than this.
Right.
I feel like it's better. And then I was like, you should, tell me some stuff about DMing. DM. He's like, sure. And then he did. And then I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to just do that now.
Yeah.
Because even some of the stuff he showed me, I was like, that doesn't seem fun. That doesn't seem okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, this is the world. And I'm like, I'm going to build my own, but thanks.
Yeah. I'm very lucky.
Stop.
And I'm not trying to butter you up or anything.
What do you want? More magic items? Is that it?
No, honestly, I want to tell you this. and maybe Kyle will hear it, but hopefully he doesn't hear it until the next session we have. I kind of want to give him my magic gauntlets.
Oh, okay.
Just so that, and not even to like get a favor out of him, but I know he's pretty down on how easily he gets hit and how quickly he gets unconscious.
Yeah.
And I think for us to get
a good character moment.
Yeah. And that's what I thought too, like,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm definitely a dick to him, to say the least. Good character moment, and I gotta work out how it happens, or how I want to try to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I think as a party as a whole, then Arthur doesn't have to spend more of his money to get him gauntlets, because +2 AC gauntlets are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps.
I'm sorry, you just reminded me. Is it okay?
Yeah.
You just reminded me of something that I wanted to happen, and you don't even know about it. And I just, I can't talk about it, but you just reminded me about it, because it's so off in the future. You know, sometimes I forget. You know, I have it all written down. Right. Well, not all of it. I have the points that I want. Yep. I try not to write a lot down in case I accidentally like leave it somewhere or you know, something like that. I have what I need written
enough
down.
To remind you and spark that memory and be like,
exactly.
This is the whole thing. I have
exactly
thing out for it.
But you remind me of something down the line a little bit, and I'm just like, I don't know if it's unhealthy, but I have so much going on in the background, like people are working on stuff constantly.
Right,
like,
and that's how the world should be. That's good world building. You give us
and you guys don't even know how long you've been away, so you don't know how much has changed.
I want to assume it's just 4 days, but I'm having a feeling now that it's not.
Who knows? And I think with that,
yeah.
Do you think it's about time we call her for the night?
Yes.
Yes, it is getting close to midnight.
Correct.
And I think we'll see all of you fine folk in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to our little interview. A little DM player interview.
It was a great questioning sequence with you, Matt.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun answering the questions. As you can see, I can talk about this all day.
We should do that sometime.
Yes.
Not tonight, though. It's getting late.
It's getting pretty late. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Goodbye.